welcome to the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
Your remote, hollow sounding Ian.
Yes.
What's going on, man?
Week 2 of isolation, man.
Yeah.
Well, isolated recordings, I should say. We're not isolated.
No,
unfortunately.
No, I was at the store earlier today. I don't know. I ran around most of the day, it seems like.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta go out in a couple of days and go do some run around too. So I'm not as isolated as I should be, but
right.
all my online schooling right now is keeping me isolated enough, I guess.
Yeah, it will. It definitely will. I just had a nice little stretch of time off, so I get to go back to work tomorrow night.
Yeah, I heard it's been getting kind of busier. I'm on vacation.
I would imagine.
I'm on vacation, so it's not really affecting me too much right now. But
when do you go back?
I go back to work the day this episode comes out.
Oh, next Sunday?
Yeah, I go back on Sunday. So,
lucky you.
Yeah, really, something like that.
Yeah.
So we got a topic to talk about. We get. I guess we've both been kind of Star Trek fans for a long time, and I was probably more so a Next Generation fan than probably any other series of Star Trek. I guess I can't really say the same for you. I don't know what your...
No, I've liked them all to varying degrees, of course, but I grew up with the original series and the Next Generation, and obviously my fandom went far much higher than yours because once Deep Space Nine and Voyager came out,
I guess there
really wasn't much about it that I didn't like at that point.
I never got into Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine always had a little bit too much of a soap opera feel to me. I guess, for me. But yeah, I liked Voyager. I thought Voyager was a good series.
Voyager was its attempt to be basically Next Gen 2.0.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Well, it all kind of took place at the same time, didn't it?
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, in the same universe. So, Next Gen runs into Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine started the 5th season of Next Gen. So now they're running parallel. And then Next Gen goes off the air, and then Voyager starts, and Voyager and Deep Space Nine are...
Well, yeah, I was mainly talking about Next Generation and Deep Space Nine kind of ran roughly the same time.
Yeah, they all take place in the same time.
Yeah.
So basically, in universe, Next Gen starts in 2365, and Voyager ends in 2377.
Okay.
So in that whole time period is when Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager take place.
All take place at the same time. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess Deep Space Nine was probably the only series I didn't really ever watch a lot of.
Mm-hmm. It's one that I always tell people, if you like Star Trek enough to want to binge something that you haven't seen before, I would say go back and watch Deep Space Nine because the writing is very deep for the time period and being slightly more serialized, which it really isn't until you get like the 4th or 5th season anyway.
Yeah.
But there's some really deep writing going on. There's a huge story arc that goes over the last 2 seasons primarily. But then
I lost you, Ian.
Yeah, I didn't do anything different on my end, so I don't know why you lost.
I don't know. You kind of froze up. Yeah, I got you back now.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Deep Space Nine is definitely a much deeper show.
Gotcha.
The Next Gen. Not that it was better written. It was more elaborate. It wasn't episodic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, but it wasn't as episodic as the other 2 shows were.
Yeah.
And let's face it, in Voyager, there were a lot of story arcs that went over because it was the difference being was it was a crew in one area.
Yeah.
over a period of time. So it wasn't like you could say, well, this happened over here, this happened over there.
They were kind of limited
straight
in
lines to the storyline.
Yeah.
You know?
So when the new Picard series was announced, I'm to be completely honest, I didn't have really high expectations for it. Because I guess I just didn't understand, or I guess not understand. I didn't really know in what direction they were going to take, because they could have gone in a million different directions with it. And
right.
And I know that Patrick Stewart was, I guess, always resistant to doing something outside of the norm with the character. So I was
no, he didn't want to do anything with the character at all.
Yeah. So I thought it was going to be more of a sterilized kind of next generation spinoff, and it wasn't anything like that at all. At least I didn't.
It was enough, though. It was enough for me, because I didn't want it to be like a spinoff necessarily. But just like in life, we're all, if we're here, we're there's stories. Our life is a story.
Yeah,
things are happening to us. Whether it's now or 20 years from now, if we're still alive, we're still engaged in the world and around us. So I'm okay with there being more stories to tell. They don't necessarily have to be exactly the same, because obviously they won't be the same.
Yeah.
But I was looking forward to the continuation of the story, of Picard's story. And I wasn't too concerned about where it went, as long as it didn't, have him, a serial killer or something.
Yeah, well, of course. So, yeah, I thought it was really interesting that before... Oh, why is my mic... Hold on. I'm really freaking loud all of a sudden.
You turned yourself up.
I turned my I think I turned my microphone up too much. So, yeah, before the show started, I read that Patrick Stewart had said that his role in... Have you seen Logan, by the way, before I say all this?
I have not.
You have not. Okay. So he said that his role in Logan actually encouraged him to attempt to do something different with the Picard the Picard role. That basically is one of the bigger roles that's kind of defined his acting career, at least on television. And he said it was his portrayal of Professor X in Logan that kind of pushed him towards, because they've been trying to get him to do this for how long? How many years? It's been a while since they've been talking about doing another spin-off kind of show with him, and he was always kind of resistant to it.
Well, I mean, it was even more to the movies. They were really just trying to. Star Trek kind of went through an age of not really knowing what it was anymore. After Enterprise was canceled in 2005, it was pretty much dead as far as CBS was concerned, as far as Paramount was concerned. Paramount wanted to move forward with movies. They did. The last Next Generation movie bombed.
Yeah.
So they really weren't going to go in any direction.
It was Nemesis, right?
Nemesis, yeah. Paramount sold off their entire collection of prop. They had 40 years of prop and costumes and models. They auctioned them off in 2006
because they were done with it.
But I mean, that was the impression. They were just kind of done with it. And then come 2009, they did the JJ movies, for better or worse.
Which I thought they were really good movies. I liked them. I liked all three of them, and I think it drew in non-Star Trek fans into the series
by not making it Star Trek, which is fine, but they don't make Star Trek.
You can say that. I think that had they done another movie, it would have been even more of a traditional Star Trek than what the movie was before. It seemed like each next movie I felt like it got closer and closer to what it was before. Like it was just kind of a slow build up. I mean, I don't know.
Beyond was definitely more Star Trek than Into Darkness.
Yeah,
for sure.
But my problem was you had J.J. Abrams who came on board and said, "I don't like Star Trek. I like Star Wars. I don't like Star Trek." If you don't like Star Trek, why are you doing Star Trek?
Because people enjoy paychecks. You pay somebody enough money, they'll do it.
Right, and that's all it was for
Spielberg will probably do porn if you pay him enough.
Right. He made a good film. I have problems with the Star Trek thing. And I don't think it was anything that there was just little. I know a lot of people have bigger issues, but for me it was little things. It would be nothing to go back and look at what has already come before and take that same story and just adjust it in a way where it doesn't. You don't need a whole nother timeline to play it.
But here's the thing, though, and that's the whole thing is, and that's what I was trying. It was what I was going to say was, with a fourth movie, who knows? They could have fixed all that really fucking easily.
I kind of think they were. The original plan was to have another time travel situation where Kirk's father is saved at the last second and is part of the story. And I think they could have changed it. If they would have done that, I would have been fine with it. Because if you go back and you watch all these old Star Trek shows and episodes and movies where there's time travel involved, the biggest thing is you don't change the timeline.
Yeah.
And that's, the whole multiverse, multi-timeline thing is the new scientific concept that didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
But you don't take Star Trek from we can't change the timeline. No butterfly effect changing the timeline to let's just change the timeline and play around with it. It doesn't work.
But it could have. But it could have. I feel like it could have had a lot of Star Trek fans not completely shit on it and went Star Trek fan on it. Which is we'll get to it. It's probably the same thing that's going to happen to this Picard series too. Star Trek fans are going to go Star Trek fan and destroy it.
Oh, they already have.
Well, they haven't yet because it was given a green light for season 2 before season 1 even premiered. So there's going to be a season 2. I don't know if there's going to be a season 3.
Right. Well, you just cut out. I don't know. There you go. You're back. You're kind of in and out. But, yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a season 3 yet either. Season 2 is greenlit, and who knows when it's going to get filmed because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart could die before then.
Yeah.
But as far as it, with the JJ films, it was obvious that there was diminishing returns, and I think the part of the problem with that is yes, you need to get new asses in the seats. You need to get new people in there. But if you alienate your entire fan base and they stop showing up, because that's what happened with Beyond. The Star Trek fans didn't show up.
But that's kind of my whole point, and look, if you enjoy a series, if you enjoy the movies, if you enjoy everything that's come of Star Trek, why not see what they're going to do before you completely shit on it? Look, you can come out and say, look, I don't like Into Darkness. I didn't like Beyond, but you know what? I'm going to go at least see it and then say my opinion to see what they're going to do next. Because if they were going to do a fourth movie and fix all or not really fix, but kind of ease some of the issues that some Star Trek fans had, I think it would have been seen as completely different.
Right.
But a lot of people, unfortunately, didn't even give it a fucking chance.
No, you're right. I agree. But that's toxic fandom, because now we're at a point now where it's not about shitting on something you saw and didn't like. It's about shitting on something before you even see it.
Yes.
People were shitting on Picard before it even came.
Yeah.
People have been shitting on it since it came out. But the numbers don't lie. People are watching it.
Oh, yeah, of course. And it's, should we actually get into talking about the show? But, or do you want us to?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this is all set up to that, for sure.
It's, I guess you can tell me if I'm wrong anywhere. Because I'm not entirely 100% sure of the timeline, but I think it's 14 years. So Picard takes place 14 years after his retirement, and it's 20 years after the events of Nemesis. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Nemesis takes place in 2379. This show takes place in 2390.
Yeah, and now in the J.J. Abrams movies didn't the Romulan homeworld get destroyed in that series also? Yes. But it's not seen as a tie-in to that timeline.
No, because I guess if you look at it, kind of think of Doc Brown in Back to the Future 2 when he's explaining to Marty how 1985 Hill Valley got switched around. That line, he draws a line. This is our timeline, and then when Biff goes back and changes everything, it creates an alternate time.
Yes.
Okay. This is the timeline as it continues on without the alternate timeline. So Spock has gone back in time, but the timeline's still going on. Nothing's changed there.
Gotcha.
So I'm surprised they didn't mention that, but they may have just been avoiding it because of the toxicity of that.
Yeah, it's probably because I didn't notice it like right away. I mean, it was probably halfway through the season. I was like, oh, okay. I kind of started putting some pieces together, but I don't know. It's I thought it was, like I said, I didn't have really high expectations going into it, and I feel like it far exceeded my expectations in many ways. I didn't think that I wasn't 100% sure of because really there was no actors in the movie or in the show that I had ever seen before to any really great extent, outside of Patrick Stewart
and Jerry Ryan.
Oh well, yeah, of course.
But she wasn't the traditional cast from the Riker.
She wasn't a huge part in the series. I mean,
no.
I did like how they kind of brought in some aspects, sort of some nostalgia pieces from the older series.
Well, and you see it. A lot of people see it as fan service, but it is, like I said, we're all. If you think of any one individual's life, there's a story there, boring or otherwise. So it would make sense that if you're going to do a continuation of Picard's story, 20 years later, you're going to have those things. You're going to have the Captain Picard Day sign in his lockup. You're going to have things that are to the casual viewer just be like, oh, well, that's just fan service.
Yeah, they don't notice it at first.
It's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be there because we all do that.
Yeah,
we all have that.
I think it adds a certain layer of depth to it to do things like that.
Right. Well, it's all about world building. If you want to believe that Picard exists in this world, then these are the things that would continue on. The only problem I have with some of that stuff is, or I didn't have any problems, but the problems that I could have had with it is if it was done in a way that was like tongue in cheek, like, "Hey, everybody, look at this."
Yeah.
And I think it was done tastefully and subtly enough and naturally enough.
Yeah. No, I agree. And as far as like the acting and stuff goes, looking back, I don't really think there was anyone. And I read a lot of reviews where people were bitching and complaining about the acting in the series. I don't think anyone did a really bad job. Maybe some of it, and some of the duller dialogue and things like that in the series, you can't blame that on the actor.
No, I agree with you there. I think Michelle Hurd, I think is her name. She plays Rafi.
Yeah.
Her introduction, she was a little wood.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think she grew into the character. At least I grew to like her character. I don't like the idea. I mean, you can't say that there wouldn't still be issues with substance abuse in the future, but Star Trek has always portrayed Earth as something a little different, and whether or not she could have, just the fact that she was still living on Earth. If he had to go to another planet to find her, and she was suffering from substance abuse, that would have been to me. But overall, I mean, her character arc just seemed a little weak to me. But other than that, I grew to like her as a character.
Yeah.
One character I liked from the get-go was Captain Rios.
Yeah, I felt like Rios was probably one of the stronger characters in the series.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And they didn't really, they gave him a little bit of backstory at the very end, but he didn't really have one. He was just kind of there being himself up until that point. And you still really enjoyed his character.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they really need to expand on him a lot more.
As far as like the substance abuse issues, I didn't have a problem with that. Obviously it was it's not like that's something that's like rampant throughout Star Trek. And I feel like it was kind of a different added dimension that they were trying to bring to a character to kind of show that she was kind of a little off from the rest of society. She's out living on her own in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know. I didn't have a problem with that. There were some scenes of hers throughout the season that didn't always feel cohesive to the story. Felt a little choppy dialogue wise and a little odd placed. But I can't blame that on the actor. That's the fault of the writing.
I agree, and then that's the biggest complaint I would have of the show is the dialogue was poorly written. A lot of it.
Really, I didn't feel like a lot of it was. I felt like there were small scenes that were poorly put together. Sure, were there some moments where the dialogue was kind of weak, but I felt like the rest of the scene kind of made up for it in other ways. Perhaps.
Overall, there wasn't an episode I did like. But I really have a hard time looking at it at an episodic level because it's not. It's one whole story.
It's one story.
Yeah. And that's how it was announced. It was announced to be a 10-hour movie.
Yeah.
That's how it plays out, for better or worse. I guess, I think I said this to you. No, I said this to somebody. I have a problem with, I think they stretched the story out a little too much. I think if they would have, it took them 4 episodes just to get off the goddamn.
That's true.
And the show's called Star Trek.
Yeah.
Which, it is what it is, but I would have had them off the planet by the second episode,
yeah. No, I agree with that.
And so that cuts out 2 episodes there. You probably could have cut out 2 episode middle. Because really, ultimately, the whole Borg thing didn't really have any bearing on it.
No, because they just sucked them all out into space and they were all gone. So,
yeah. And they crashed the Borg cube. And, spoiler alert. So if you haven't watched the show and you plan on watching the show, this would be a really good time to stop, go watch it, and come back. Because I'm going to spoil it because I can't talk about it without spoiling.
No. I don't think you can.
They crash the Borg cube, and at the very end, 7 just goes off with Picard, which is great. I want that. For season 2, I want Jerry Ryan on that ship. I want her with the group. I want her part of that crew.
Yep.
Because she was another strong character. But they just left it there, and they didn't explain what happened to Elnor.
No, they didn't.
Because he wasn't on the ship.
No.
Where was he? So I don't know. There's some. I guess it's one of those things where, if you knowing there's going to be a season 2, you expect that these are just plot threads that are going to continue on to the next.
Yeah, because season 2 was planned out before season 1 was released. Yeah. No, I agree because but it kind of goes back to the whole J.J. Abrams thing I was talking about. Is you might have an issue with the lack of reasoning behind the Borg cube, or the whole interaction with Will Riker, and which I felt that was kind of misplaced also. It felt like it was just kind of thrown in there and didn't really add a whole lot to the story. That whole episode kind of seemed like a kind of throw-in nostalgic kind of thing. But
I would have had that in the 4th. I would have saved it for the 6th or 7th. I would have. To me, that's something that should have happened right when they left.
Yeah, leave the planet. But that's what I'm saying though, is that could be fixed. The Borg cube could be fixed in season 2. because season 2, like I said, was planned out prior to season 1 being released. So I don't know. It could all kind of straighten itself out. I mean, it really doesn't have to straighten itself out because it was a good series. I might really spoil something here if you haven't seen it, but I wasn't exactly thrilled with the way they ended the series or the season.
You mean Picard's arc?
Yes.
Yeah.
I that was the one thing I was like, I felt like you either kill Picard and move on with that crew, because that crew was strong enough to carry multiple seasons on its own. It was that good of a crew. You move on without Picard, or Picard survives. You don't kill Picard, bring Picard back as an android, and then kind of move on from there.
Right. My argument is I liked what they did, but I don't like the fact that it was Patrick Stewart. It was a perfect way to give Patrick Stewart his goodbye, but still have the essence of Picard.
Yeah.
So you recast him. You put him into an android body, that's another actor. They have that ability to make them human-like, so they can age now. Like Data couldn't age. That was part of the problem with Data's character.
Yeah.
Can't age him, so how is it they explain that the android is getting older?
Yes.
Which is why Data or Brent Spiner wanted to die in the last movie in the first. Like, I can't keep doing this. It's getting harder and harder to hide the fact that I'm aging.
Yeah.
So you recast him. You put Picard's essence into another actor.
I think that would have went over even worse.
It would have, but if you're gonna do something special here, we're gonna do something different.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
It is.
Whether people like it or not, because people don't like this. They don't like what this. I'm fine with it for what it's worth, but people didn't like this because they say they shouldn't have died in the first place. But he was going to die. That was established in the original series in the next generation that he had that defect in his brain and that it was going to kill him in 25 to 30 years.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
But
he got to die.
But that's what I'm saying though is he didn't have to die then.
Yes, no. They could have saved it to the end.
They could have easily, if this thing goes on 3, 4, 5 seasons, they could have waited till the end of that to kill him off. Or like I said, kill him off at the end of this season. But how do you move on with a show called Picard without Picard?
Exactly. But see, that's my point. It could have added another dimension to character development, not necessarily actor development.
Yeah,
character development.
Or, well, finish your story. Finish what you're saying, and then I'll go into something else.
Well, just in the sense that now you've got a totally different actor who doesn't have to play Picard necessarily. They can play elements of Picard. Dealing with we know Picard. The Picard we know is gone, but there's still part of him that's existing, and he now has to exist in a realm that philosophically he's not comfortable with.
Yeah.
First thing he asks is, am I going to be immortal? That's the first thing he asks, which is a good question, because obviously he's a real person who's aged.
Uh-huh.
So as a plot device, good, but it's also as a character for Picard, because Picard's always been the more philosophical character in Star Trek, one of them, as much as Spock is. So you could have gone off with this new idea, still called it Picard because the essence of Picard is still there, and really developed that character arc better with him trying to figure out now his place as Picard, but not Picard.
Yeah, no, I get it. In
the universe, I just think that would have been it would have been a braver. Granted, I understand why they didn't do it.
Yeah,
because the show is being sold on.
For sure. Yeah. How about this though? How about you don't have to have Patrick Stewart or Picard in a show called Picard. I mean, you could kill them off, and this ragtag crew that you have left, hell, they could rename their ship Picard and then move on with it like that.
That's true. There were ways they could have also just done it as a one-off season. Next season is a continuation of the story, but it's called Star Trek La Sirena.
Yeah.
Or, because that's the name of the ship.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
They could have done that too.
Because I think
they call it a 10-hour movie. Well, a movie has a title, Star Trek Picard.
The movie has an ending also.
The next step is to do a series connected to the movie, and that's Star Trek whatever, La Sirena, whatever you want to call it. Because although Star Trek Renegades has already kind of been taken by fiction.
Yeah, I think that that was kind of the interesting thing, because before I got too far into the series, I kind of felt like they were going to end the series when this season ended. It was going to be the end of Patrick Stewart's time in the series. That's what kind of the way it played out. So, and that's kind of when it felt like they started shifting the season more towards Captain Rios and kind of giving hints into some of his background. And that's why I was like, oh, I think he's the actor, and that character would be strong enough to carry a series of his own. And that's kind of where I thought they were going to go on with that. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays together, because I'm sure they're going to go more into his backstory in season 2. And I kind of wonder how they're going to be able to blend that, and if they're going to be able to blend that in a quality way with everyone and with everything else going on in the series.
I have high hopes for the second season. I really do, because I think it's an opportunity for the detractors who said this wasn't Star Trek enough. I think they can really kind of blend into really good Star Trek now, without the ties to the or the anchor that is Starfleet. You know what I mean? They can kind of go off and do. They can do things that are more Star Wars-ish if they want to. Yeah. Story-wise, without having that tie now. Mm-hmm. But they have it as a backup. I'm not saying you get rid of it, but the stories can get a little weighted down with rules, and I understand that. Why I'm not as hard on the JJ movies, because once you start to apply too many rules, it can stifle the creative process. Yeah. I still think that a good writer could have done all 3 of those Star Trek movies better without the alternate time. Maybe. That's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, mainly because I don't. As much as I like those movies, the alternate timeline isn't necessary to those movies.
No, it's not. It could have, and a lot of people will bitch about canon, and I'm one of them. But the thing is for me, canon is limited only to what's ever been put on.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So even though there's canon that talks about how Kirk and Spock and them met each other, it's all in separate fiction. Yeah. So that whole story really could have been exactly the same, and they could have even still called it an alternate timeline if they hadn't destroyed Vulcan. Yeah. Vulcan just being destroyed. Vulcan could have been the end game, meaning when in the movie where he's about to destroy Earth, if they had switched that to the Vulcan and then had them saving Vulcan the way they saved Earth, great, that would have been fine. Because as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't negate anything that is visually canon, anything that's been on film. But it is creating new canon on top of it. Yeah. So it would have been fine. It's just little writing things like that. I get it. They had to destroy Vulcan for that particular plot. But I don't think it would have hurt if they had switched it around. Said they tested it on destroyed a whole other planet no one's ever heard of. But it could have been just as populated and just as depressing to lose. Basically it's genocide. That's what it was. If Nero had committed genocide on another planet, test to move on to Vulcan and then Earth, but they stopped him at Vulcan. Simple storyline. Doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything going forward as far as what's visually canon.
Yeah.
So, and they've always said that if it's not on film, it doesn't count. So
Yeah.
they can change any of that stuff at any time as long as it's not on film. That's fine with me. I'm cool with it. So this time they did, and it just did bother. And that, that's a side note, but thankfully Picard did not do that. And I was kind of afraid because Discovery kind of does.
Does it? See, I only watched. I've only seen like the first half, maybe the first half of the first season of Discovery. I've only watched for the first couple of episodes. That's it.
Right. For what it is, it's a decent show. I enjoy forward to 3, especially because season 3 is going in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
But the problem is with any time you do a prequel, you run the risk of either making it look better than it should,
Yeah.
technologically speaking, visually speaking, or changing what's already come before. And they committed both of those sins.
Yeah.
Because I really don't know why. If people who know Star Trek, suppose Star Trek, you don't come in and change what Klingons to that degree. You can alter. In all fairness, you see a Klingon in JJ in Into Dark, and he did alter those Klingons, but he didn't alter them so much that they looked shitty.
Yeah.
These new ones look shitty.
Do they?
They're all bald in the first season, and they wrote in this little side note that when Klingons go to war, they shave their head. Of course, Klingons have gone to war in the show at least times that I can think of,
Yes.
and none of them ever shaved.
No, yeah, exactly.
So they wrote that in to fix it because people bitched about it, but they made them look they look like fucking monsters.
Oh, really?
And you said, you could have altered Klingons enough to be fine and up to date.
That's really
without changing them so fucking much.
Yeah, that's really surprising though, because you've got Star Trek people that are running that series, and when you're doing something where a certain group of individuals appear after later in the series, how do you change them and reconcile that artistically?
Well, and here's the problem. They've done it before with the Klingons.
Yeah.
In the original series, in the 1960s, Klingons didn't have the ridges.
No.
They were just darkened face and beards, and that was it. But in Enterprise, they did explain. They did a whole 2-part episode and it makes sense. It made perfect sense. But they did that in 2004.
Yeah.
And that was a continuity error that went back to technically to 1979, because that's the first time you see what we traditionally understand with the head Klingon.
Yeah.
The motion picture. Gene Roddenberry always said when people ask, says, well, not all humans look alike, which is fair enough.
I guess that's true.
But the fact that you never ever see the flat-headed Klingons ever again,
they're wiped out.
Kinda,
that subspecies of Klingon were wiped out. Easy.
To a degree.
Done.
But see, that's where Deep Space Nine came in. There's the 3 Klingons, the 3 main villain Klingon series, Kor, Kang, and Koloth, all have appearances in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And one of them plays a part over a multiple story. And they have the ridges.
Yeah.
The explanation is that it's all tied into Enterprise. Is Khan's a superhuman. He was genetically altered to be a superhuman. Well, he wasn't the only one. In Enterprise, you find out that there was a warehouse that stored embryo from.
Oh, I lost you, man.
I just cut off. All right. It looks like you're still recording me.
Yeah, I guess I got you.
All right. A scientist stole those embryos and he grew them, basically. Well, they went con and tried to leave and take over and whatever, but they stole a Klingon ship.
Yeah.
To do so, And the Klingons, thinking the Federation was, Earth was, because it wasn't the Federation, Earth was working on genetic engineering, took DNA and tried to fit it into their own DNA, and it flattened their head.
Huh.
So
that's an interesting way to explain it.
I agree. I think it really worked as far as a storyline. And as the years progress, and those Klingons are going to obviously breed with other normal-looking Klingons, it's going to go away. But also Klingons that had the flat head would have seen that as a shameful thing. So they had themselves surgically altered later on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Look like normal Klingon. So it all makes sense. They did that well. It was a much more creative and elaborate way of writing that in, other than just saying, "Oh, well, they shaved their heads and wore." It's stupid.
Yeah, which seems lazy.
It doesn't explain that they have claws now. They don't have fingers; they have claws.
They have claws.
Basically, their fingers look like claws, not like the normal Klingons. And so it's things like that bother me. For Discovery, the ship designs don't work because these are ships that are supposed to be 10 years less advanced than the original series Enterprise.
Yeah,
they look more advanced. They have holographic communication. There's no holographic communication in Star Trek.
No,
they're just in Deep Space Nine. They start experimenting with holographic communication. Apparently, it was on every ship. So how did it now people bitched about that? How do they explain that?
How do they reconcile that?
It was the technology wasn't working. It was incompatible, and it was being used by an AI to take over the universe, basically, essentially. So they get it off. They're like, well, we can't. We're not doing. It was cheap. It was a cheap out, and it just didn't work. You can't do that. I understand you can't make a 2017 is when Discovery came out. You can't take a show in 2017 and make it look like a show in 1966. I understand that. But you don't have to. Enterprise was 100 years before the original show, and it worked. The technology was not so advanced that it didn't work. Yet it still looked like a show in 2001, 2002, 2003. Yeah. So, and although people did bitch about that a bit too, but it worked. It wasn't so advanced that it predates or postdates what comes after. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work. That being said, Discovery Season 2 was better because they did start to introduce, again, plot threads or story elements that you can see as possibly fan service. But it wasn't. Introducing the character of Captain Pike was brilliant, and they got a great actor. He sells the part very well, and you know Captain Pike from the movies, J.J. universe. Of course, and that's different too because technically in canon, in the original series, you do Kirk and Spock to help Pike, but Kirk and Pike had never met before. So, and in the movies, Pike's the reason he joined Starfleet.
Yeah.
For whatever it's worth. But anyway, and I like Bruce Greenwood's character playing Pike in the movies. I thought he was great in the movies too.
Yeah, I thought he did. He did a good job.
Yeah, Anson Mount was fantastic. He's the highlight of that series of season 2 of Discovery, playing Captain Pike. Highlight. The guy they got to play young Spock, he was okay.
Yeah.
I was never really sold on Zachary Quinto, his Spock, because there's a different type. If you look at Spock, Leonard Nimoy's Spock, and you go back and you watch all of Leonard Nimoy's performances, and then you look at other actors playing other Vulcan, they're very different. There's a natural rigidness to what a Vulcan's supposed to be that Leonard Nimoy had, but didn't play he didn't play it to that level. He was more, I would almost call him more stoic than rigid, whereas everyone who ever plays a Vulcan on Star Trek is always playing it rigid, like robotic almost. And what my hat is Zachary Quinto played the robotic, this rigid.
I thought he did a really good job. I thought he did a good job playing Spock. Obviously, you can't. I don't think you can really compare him to Leonard Nimoy. I mean, that's kind of
no.
But I still think he did a really damn good job with the role.
He did a fair job. I don't want to say he did a bad job, but there's little things that and again, this is not a criticism on his ability as an actor, but as an actor, I guess as a casting agent, if I was going to go in there, because I'm not an actor, but I know what works in acting. I see what works, at least for me as an audience member. If I was going to go in there, you always hear these actors, well, I don't want to go in and do William Shatner. I don't want to go in there and do a Leonard Nimoy. You're not. You're not being hired to do Leonard Nimoy. You're being hired to do Spock. Yeah. So do Spock.
Yeah, but Spock is Leonard Nimoy.
That doesn't mean that they can't find the Spock there. You know what I mean? Take this for example. If you've got an actor who's being called in to play Winston Churchill, are they being well, I can't do Winston Churchill. I got to do my own version of it. No, they're going to do Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
So do Spock the way you would do Winston Churchill, or the way you would do.
But that is doing it. That is doing Leonard Nimoy.
For what it's worth, maybe, but that's not. Don't approach it like that. Don't emulate Leonard Nimoy. Emulate the character, because that's what an actor's supposed to do: is become the character that they're portraying. So be that character. Don't try to be Leonard Nimoy or see it as being Leonard Nimoy. Be that character. And I think it's with Zachary Quinto, it's a lot of little things that bother. It's not the overall performance, because there's a lot of good that he does. There's a lot of moments where I go, there it is. But there's a lot of moments where I'm like, that's not it. It's forced with Zachary Quinto, and that could be more direction, and it could be script too. That's why I don't want to really criticize his acting, because there's a lot of dialogue that he's given that is way too forced. Is just many times where he's basically quoting Spock through the writers from other movies and other shows. It's forced. It just doesn't work, and that's writing. That's poor writing. That really isn't fault. But that's like I said. If I was cast, I wouldn't cast. I wouldn't go in there and say, "Look, I need you to do Leonard Nimoy." I'd say, "Look, I need you to do Spock. We're hiring you to be Spock, so be Spock. Don't be a Vulcan, because you got the Vulcan down. Everyone can do Vulcan. Don't do Vulcan. Do Spock." And I saw a lot of that issue with Ethan Peck as Spock in the season 2 of Discovery. But there's also a lot more moments. Granted, he has a lot more screen time, but there's a lot more moments where I see, oh, there it is. He has the potential to do this better than Zachary Quinto. He hasn't yet, and they are talking about doing a Pike TV show. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. They're talking about doing a Pike TV show. And they could, because there's still about 6 or 7 years from where Discovery Season 2 left off to when Kirk would take over the Enterprise. So, and Pike is captain of the Enterprise for that period of time. So they could do a 5-year mission with Pike if they wanted. And I think it'd be good. I think it might actually be decent.
So
they need to work on Spock. They need to cut out the fucking lens flares. They need to stop making the ships move so fast, because the cutaways are so bad. You don't get any hero shot on. I mean, some would say it's boring, but you watch the motion picture and there's a 5-minute scene where you just see the ship. You barely see the ship in all of season 1 of Discovery.
Yeah,
it's moving too fast. All these cutaways, all these like quick.
Well, that's how those things are filmed today.
That doesn't mean they have to be filmed that way.
It's not just a Star Trek thing. That's a TV and movies in general. I guess
just because everyone else is doing it doesn't do it the same way.
I guess going back to Picard, Where do you think the series is going to go in season 2? If you're able to pull out your crystal ball.
Well, I can only tell you where I think I want. I obviously there's some story elements they have. I think there's going to be a slightly Borg heavy element to the season. I would rather there not be.
I think it almost has to be.
There has to be, but I think the Borg are best used in moderation. If you want to do a whole season on the Borg, fine. If you don't do a season with the Borg sprinkled in there and then do a whole other season with the Borg, it just, spaced it out. But, because they're a villain that has already been overused to a point. And if you use them too much, they don't have the same impact.
Yeah.
So
no, I get it.
But as far as that goes, I think they're gonna have to tie up those Borg loose ends for sure. But I would personally like to see just more space. They can go to different planets or whatever, but they kind of left it open. There's no set storyline that they have to follow. They don't have to go anywhere necessarily, so they can go anywhere. And I'd much rather see a Star Trek series. They got a ship, they got a crew. Let's just go out there and do some stuff.
I guess, is it going to be...
Right some wrong.
Do you think it's going to be more of a... is it going to have a main central idea, like season 1 did? Or is it going to be more of a Discovery, planet-to-planet kind of season?
Well, see, Discovery wasn't. Discovery was
one
season, one story.
I didn't mean Discovery, the TV show. I mean Discovery, they're going to discover things.
No, I think the whole idea of exploration is not in Star Trek right now. It's not going to be exploration, but they teased us with the Fenris Rangers, which is what 7 is part of.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that could play into it, and it'd be more of a thing like that, where they become more like, I wouldn't say vigilantes, but like a private security type thing, where they go out and just help.
I can see something
I'm cool
like
with
that.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Because at least it gets them out and you get some action. There's a lot of stories you can have there, and it ties into kind of what Picard was trying to do in the first place. Yeah. Why he left Starfleet? He left because he was broken. He couldn't fight Starfleet anymore. He thought he was fighting Starfleet. He wasn't.
He wasn't.
He left because he didn't think he could fight Starfleet. Then he did fight Starfleet, and he won, essentially. So, and it wasn't Starfleet. His Starfleet is still intact, but it's still not the same.
Yeah.
So he can go and do his thing. He can do what he's always wanted, and that's just be out there helping people, being in that. What he's done well on the show.
Yeah.
For 30 years.
The other thing is, do you think if it goes past a second season, do you think Patrick Stewart stays with the series?
I think the show will go until he doesn't personally.
Yeah.
And to be fair, when the show was announced, he did announce it as a multiple season. He didn't say it was a one-off. He said we're planning on doing this for a few seasons. Is what he said.
Well,
this isn't just one.
And that's what I'm wondering is after season 2, will he be kind of done with it?
I think as long as they give him interesting things to do, that he can stretch himself at least as much as he can at his age.
Yeah.
And give him creative control to that extent that they did in season 1. I think he'll hold out. I could see them doing at least 3 seasons.
Yeah. Maybe
4 or 5.
I don't see it going on that far. I think 3 probably. I think 3 tops.
I think if we weren't if the lockdown wasn't in place and they had started, because they were supposed to start filming here real soon.
Yeah.
I think if they were on the normal schedule, I think 5 would be it. I think as it stands, depending on when this ends, it's probably going to be 4.
Well, the only reason I say 3 is I think at some point soon. Patrick Stewart's going to probably the writing will kind of get stale, a little staler, and I think he'll just kind of lose interest in it. And because he's somebody that I think believes in the ideas and principles of the Picard role, right? And he wants to protect the legacy of that role. And he doesn't want to do anything that's going to not disgrace the role, but shine a negative light on it. And that's why I think he's going to want to get out of the series before it gets stale. And that's why I said 3 seasons probably tops.
Yeah, well, and I'd be okay with that. I think he can do more. I think it's all going to boil down to what the writing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
They've got good writers, but they need to work. They really need to work on it. And it's not even the writing. They really.
You're breaking up there, man.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. The one complaint from the one podcast I like, or video, whatever. The focus of that channel is the ships. They've always shipped things, like the way ships are designed and how there's over 50 plus years there's become an aesthetic to start. That's gone. It doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
I think they do need to bring some of that. I agree with these guys. They need to bring some of that back because there is a logic to the way they've designed ships and technology for Star Trek for the duration. We'll say at least since 1987, a rule book that they're not adhering to, and I don't know why. I think a lot of it has to do with, for example, the very last action sequence in Picard was a standoff between a Federation fleet and a Romulan, and the Federation fleet, all those ships were exactly the same. There was 100 plus ships that looked. That's not Star Trek.
Yeah.
Star Trek ships have variant design.
Yeah.
I like that design, but not 100 of them, not 200 of them, whatever, how many. Not that many of them. I like that design. Great for one ship, maybe even 5 ships, because you can have that's a class of ship. But you wouldn't have 100. There were not 100 Galaxy class ships like the Enterprise.
Yeah.
There weren't 100 Constitution class. They really need to work on they got it right in terms of little Picard detail. What they need to work on is getting things right as Star Trek detail. And that's across the board. JJ started that problem because he wanted everything redesigned. I hate the design. I fucking hate the design of the Enterprise and JJ. It doesn't make any sense at all. There's no rhyme or reason. And they brought a lot of that over, and I don't know why. In JJ's movies, you see, and they show it. It's not in a shaft. It's like in this it's too big.
You kind of broke up.
The elevators and JJ's. They show them traveling through the ship. What they're traveling through is bigger than what the ship is. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So where's the rest of the ship? Where you know what I mean? There's design.
I think people kind of read a little too much into, and I don't know, because I don't.
It would be, yeah, but if you're watching something, you gotta understand that to people these aren't sci-fi shows; they're drama. There's legitimate story, and if you're watching a movie that's a drama, and someone walks into a shack, and the room that they walk into is bigger than what they saw on the outside, and it's not Doctor Who, it's going to take you out of it. You know what I mean? When you're making a film or making a TV show, you're making it, even if it's fantastical, you have to make it in real world perspective. Star Wars does it fine, and they you get this giant Star Destroyer. It's giant. You see the size, but the size on the inside matches the size on the outside. That doesn't happen. Discovery did the same fucking thing. And I can't stand that. It's there. They don't have to work hard. It's not rocket science. And the casual viewer is not going to notice. They're not going to care. But the people who count, the people who are going to watch this 6 times instead of 2 times, the casual viewer will go, oh, that's a good show. I watched it twice. The fans are going to watch it 7 times. You know what I mean?
I think people read too much into that shit. I mean, yes, I see where you're going with it, but I think that, I don't know. I just don't, for the most part, I don't have a problem with unless it's like freakishly out of scale.
It is freakishly out of scale.
I wouldn't say it's freakishly out of scale, but whatever.
It's freakishly out of scale when you've got a crew that's supposed to be 400 and they've got a crew of 1,000 on a ship that can only hold 400 and turbo lift that goes through the entire underbelly of the ship that's wide open for miles. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I know people who just, it doesn't matter. It's all about detail. That's what made the original series work. You can't expect people in 1966 to imagine space travel like they did, but they made it in real world aesthetic so that it could be understandable. And that continued on, even once you got better special effects and better ship design, set designs. It was all there. It was still real world aesthetic, real world environment, in the sense that you could say, okay, in 400 years, that what JJ did and what Discovery doesn't work, and they're getting dangerously close to doing Picard because the ships themselves are now being for quick shots that you don't see them, and it doesn't matter. That fleet, I wouldn't even have noticed that all those. If it hadn't been for that YouTube channel where they froze the frames. It's, look, these are all the same ship. This is cheap. This is cheap special effect. We don't have enough money to create multiple designs, so we'll take one design, we'll alter it slightly, and then make 50 of each. Great. If it's a cost cutting element, I get it. But they don't have 100 ships. You don't need 100 ships. They didn't. They could have done it. They could have done that. So they could have done it with 25 ships on both sides. They didn't really need to have it. It doesn't. You don't have to have Marvel level scale on a TV show. You can get close to it by making things more realistic. Look, I know, and I'm just trying to avoid this argument where I know it's fiction. It is fiction. But all of Star Trek up to 2005 had a real world that was functioning within the story. That you could look at that and say, okay, I get that works for that. You don't get that with the new Star Trek. It started in 2009 with J.J. Abrams because he's a visual director. Everything has to be big and bombastic. He's just a slightly better, more talented version of Bay. Things have to be blowing up and exploding, which is why all 3 of the J.J. movies has the Enterprise practically destroyed or fucked. Because everything has to blow up.
It's a story. It's all it is. Let's go back to talking about, and let's wrap this up here with what are your final thoughts of the Picard series?
I liked it. I think it's better as the season than the first season of The Next Generation, with only a few episodes. But there's 25 of those episodes, 6 episodes there.
Yeah, a lot more. But if I took out time,
I would say there's less than 10 good episodes in season 1.
And you broke up. You said The Next Generation. Is that what you said?
Oh, I said there's less than 10 good episodes per season.
Yeah, we got a really bad connection right now. I don't know why you're freezing up so much on me.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I tried to turn my video off to see if that'll help, but I don't know if it did.
You're fine on my end. You haven't changed. But, so that being said, I enjoyed all 10 episodes of Picard, so it's better than season 1 of Next Generation. And that's all I'm going to compare it to. I'm not going to compare it to the other story.
Yeah, I felt that. I agree. I didn't feel like there was any bad episodes in Picard, and I felt like as the season went on, the stronger the episodes got. And I think that's what you want in a series. You want to feel that it's kind of building to a crescendo. And I feel like that's exactly what they did. What's that?
I think it just took them too long to get there.
Well, and that's fine. And I don't have a big issue with that because I'd rather have a 10 episode season that feels a little bit elongated than a 6 episode season that feels truncated.
Fair enough. But I think they could have done 5-6 episodes and tied up. They'd done the exact same story.
And I think in retrospect, you're right. But I think going into it, they didn't want to limit themselves with the story. They didn't want to get to a point where they're like, okay, so everyone signed on to do 6 episodes, but in episode 5, they're like, well, shit, it's going to take longer to finish this arc than we thought it would.
Yeah, no, that's fair. If I had to, I guess I could give it 2 scores. I give it overall TV score.
Yeah.
And then I give it Star Trek score. Overall TV score, I give it probably an 8.
Yeah.
Out of 10. But if I was going to give it a Star Trek score, I'd say 6.5.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. And I'm much more optimistic about a second season than I was about this season going into it. I will definitely say that.
Well, that's how I feel about Discovery. Discovery season 2 was more on par score-wise for me with what I gave Picard. TV show, I gave it like a 7. Star Trek, I gave it like a 5.5.
Yeah.
But going forward, season 3, the ship got transported 1,000 years in the future, so they can do anything they want because they're supposed to be stuck in 1,000 years in the future. It doesn't mess with any canon.
Yeah.
And they can do whatever the fuck they want. So I think going into season 3 of Discovery, it's like a blank slate for me. It's a brand new show. And going forward with Picard, kind of the same thing. They can now they freed themselves up, other than the Borg storyline threads that they set.
Yeah, that's kind of the only big thing they've got to wrap up.
They can do anything they want. And I'm optimistic too. I think season 2 will be done this season.
Well, let's. I think that's kind of a good way to kind of leave this off. If there's anything else we can really say about it, it's
well, no, I go on.
I know you can because you're one of those people that kind of irritates the shit out of me about Star Trek. But
I don't see how, because I like it, and I'm passionate about it. I'm not one of those people who shit on it just to shit on it. I have reasons for what I.
I think a lot of people find, I don't want to say dumb things to pick on. I think they're insignificant things to pick on. The people a lot. I'm not saying you in particular, but a lot of the people out there, especially the reviews that I read of this, nitpick on the most insignificant, ridiculous shit to have an issue with. Well,
I agree. There's a lot of bad ones.
I will leave it with this, and I will say that even if you are a casual Star Trek fan, even if you're not, I would say that if you're the most casual Star Trek fan, you will probably enjoy this series. It's a good series.
Yeah,
it's definitely something to go out there and watch. Well, that's about it. I agree.
Yeah, I know. I agree. It does work on a level. Casual fans can like it. The diehards not so much, maybe, but I'm a diehard and I enjoyed it. So, what is that?
Anything else, man?
No, just what I just said.
All right. Well, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter @LIGpod. We're on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, just about everywhere else. Find the show, leave us a 5-star review, and that's about it, man.
That's it.
Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you some cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, the niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god, Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement. To your eye, niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. These bodies of water. Bring that shit in bottles. We mash at the party, that hit when we style it.